Hello, Yahtzee. Hello, Yahtzee. Bingo Yahtzee? Yeah, I already used that one once to start. Welcome back to Scream Preach, everybody. How we doing? It's episode 68. We're back, and I'm not going to do the headphones on my ears anymore because I just don't think I need to. I checked it beforehand. I know we're there. We're good. And, yeah, it's just more comfortable. So, what's up? It's been 3 weeks. You know, this is how we do it now. This is a new structure every 3 weeks, new episode. It allows for time to really think about the movies. You know? I mean, I saw 3 movies, 3 of the latest. Eternals just came out today. Or, you know, Friday, because this will be out on Monday. So, not today for you. Today, though. Yeah, Eternals. I gotta go check that out. First ever rotten MCU film. Doesn't really mean anything. I know that it's great that they had that streak for however long and whatever, but the fans apparently love it. Like, the fans, their ratings of it are better than the critics. I don't know. It doesn't really matter what the fans or the critics said. It doesn't matter to me. All that matters to me is what I think of it. My opinion. And I'll definitely get to checking that out next week if I can. I don't know that I'll get to it this week. I actually just started watching The Harder They Fall. I'm going to finish it later tonight. It's already good. I'm the first half hour into it. It's a good movie. Everybody needs to go check that out. It's on Netflix right now. But yeah, so no, the 3 movies we'll be talking about today are not Eternals. None of them are Eternals. But some of the big ones from the last 3 weeks, obviously. The main topic is Dune, because it's all the talk, and it should be. And then I also saw the new Halloween Kills, and it seems appropriate for, you know, Halloween just ended, you know, and we'll talk about the latest in the Halloween saga. And I saw Ridley Scott's latest, The Last Duel, which shocked me in good and bad ways. But we'll get into that a little later. First, we'll start with the usual, what's been going on. Just kind of some updates, I guess. Nothing really different on my end. Still watching all the same stuff because it takes me forever to finish anything. A lot of movies I just know that there's a lot of movies I want to see. I'm actually doing pretty good, checking them all out. Just, you know, busy. So, not a whole lot of time for everything I want to do. My brother's birthday today, so shout out to my brother, Jack Morganti. Happy birthday, buddy. And the big thing that everybody has talked about on other podcasts, so I guess I should bring it up, is the whole Alec Baldwin situation that is just unfortunate and just tragic and should never happen. I didn't even really know what happened. I heard something. I was kind of later to really knowing what the fuck happened. I thought that Alec Baldwin did something like off the reservation or whatever. But it's just one of those, it turned out to be one of those unbelievably tragic and rare situations where someone didn't do their job and people got hurt and killed because of it. I feel bad for everyone involved. It sucks all around. It sucks for everybody. Somebody's to blame, yes, per se. You didn't do your job, but it's not like anyone was trying to kill anybody, and the people who did what they did and the people who fucked up are gonna live with this for the rest of their lives. So, it just sucks. And Alec Baldwin, pulling that trigger, having no idea, he's gonna live with it for the rest of his life, and it's just what it is. It's very rare. That's why there's a shit ton of precautions in production to avoid these kind of things. There are people and protocols and rules to allow for these things to not happen, and it happened when it shouldn't have. And I think it's only happened maybe 3 times ever in the history of film, but it should never happen. The Brandon Lee thing is the one everybody keeps referring to lately. Is the last one that everybody remembers. That was terrible. But yeah, it should just never happen. And they're still just, they keep, it still pops up, all kinds of new things we're learning about it, and it just sucks all around. That was like the big thing lately. I know that I always seem to forget something, but we're on a roll with that, so why stop now? I'm gonna forget something else, or a few things, but we'll get quickly into the news of cinema that is not tragic, and just basic updates and whatnot, as we always do, and I'll go through quicker this time than I did last time. I promise. So yeah, first of all, there was a big the DC Dome Fest was recent. A lot of like first looks at things and whatnot. Like we got a first look at the Flash movie which does have Michael Keaton's Batman in it. I think it definitely has Ben Affleck's Batman in it too. And then the Flash, there's multiple iterations of him, I think, and it's like a whole multiverse movie. There was a first look at that. There was a lot of renewals for things. Titans and Doom Patrol both renewed for season 4. Awesome. And then what else? Was there anything else? There was a trailer. There was a new trailer for the Batman, and that was big. And I was trying to not watch it. Actually, I sort of succeeded in not watching it. So like, cause I don't like to. I watched the teaser. You know me. You know how I do it. I watch teasers. I don't watch full trailers because I don't want to see shit. I want to watch it in the theater when it comes out. So this was the official trailer, right? I didn't want to see it. I saw the teaser. That's all I need. I'm so hyped for that fucking movie. But yeah, I didn't watch it. But then I went to see. I went back to back. I watched Dune and Last Duel. Like I was just in the movie theaters last week. Just like I spent the whole fucking day in the movie theaters. And yeah, that trailer came on. It came on twice, and both times is when I decided to go out and get some food. So yeah, I still don't know. I haven't seen the full trailer, and I don't want to. I can't wait to see the movie. But that was all like some big cool stuff at the DC Dome. And then to keep with DC, the Batgirl movie casted Brendan Fraser as the villain, and he plays Robot Man in Doom Patrol. So they're sticking. Even who they cast, you can have actors playing the same, or have one actor playing two different characters. DC is just a giant multiverse of things that it's a mess. But as long as they manage to keep it individual at the same time, that's kind of all that matters. If they can have individual stories that can really stay individual, and then they have the ones that kind of connect, it could still be good. We'll see. But yeah, Brendan Fraser's playing the villain in the Batgirl movie. Not that that's not good casting, because it certainly, yeah, it is. The Peacemaker TV series for HBO Max, too. There's a Suicide Squad spinoff for the Peacemaker, the character of the Peacemaker played by John Cena. There's a TV show coming out with James Gunn and John Cena returning for that. There was a trailer for that as well. Looking forward to that too. He was a fucking brutal character, huh? Mel Gibson to star in the John Wick prequel, The Continental, right? The prequel series that they're doing. And now we've got Mel Gibson on board. That was out of left field. Of all the people, I did not see that coming at all. That should be really interesting. And then I guess a lot of the John Wick universe is kind of just like growing now. That's a big thing that the studio's pushing, is to have that expanded, multiple storylines and whatnot. John Wick 4 is already in production; it's moving, and then we have this, and then I think they announced that there will be another project. Anna de Armas. I don't know how to say. I don't know how to say anyone's names. I think I butchered Chloe Zhao. I kept saying Chloe Zhao, Eternals and Nomadland director. It's not Zhao. It's something else. I butcher everybody's fucking name. It's my trademark at this point. I don't care. It's whatever. Right? I was calling Anya Taylor-Joy Anna Taylor-Joy. I just have a bad track record with names. But yeah, Ana de Armas is doing the spin-off that they're doing. The John Wick spin-off. It's a movie called Ballerina. That will be awesome. Are you kidding? Sign me up. So the whole universe is just expanding. There was a lot of stuff in the last few weeks that just kept pouring in all kinds of news. Then the Continental also casted Colin Waddell in the lead role. So Mel Gibson's playing somebody in the series, and then they casted the lead. I think Colin Waddell is playing a younger version of Ian McShane's character from the movie. So that's what he's supposed to be. That's who he's supposed to be. So yeah, John Wick, man. Yeah. Ozark's final season to premiere in January. Yes, let's go. Finally, here we go. And it's split into 2 parts, so I don't know if it's like the first part, and then we gotta wait a little bit, and then the second part, but it's coming this January. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has begun production. We talked about it last time, how they casted Adam Warlock. Production has begun. How about this? Quentin Tarantino says Kill Bill 3 may be his next film. Wants to make a comedy western. Well, that's interesting, because that would also mean that Kill Bill Volume 3 is his last film, because it's his last film. That's what he keeps telling everybody. But to take a different approach to it, maybe change the tone, genre a little bit, interesting idea. So we'll see what he ends up doing. As I've mentioned before on the show, just from what I've heard Quentin Tarantino say, he's in no rush to make that final movie. I want to give a shout out to just a little bit of indie buzz. Talented writer-director that I had the opportunity to work with a few years back, Jonah Feingold. He got a new gig directing new film for Paramount Plus called At Midnight, starring Diego Boneta. That's fucking awesome, dude. So congrats, man. Yeah, that came up in my feed. I'm like, wow, Jonah, nice. Emily Blunt in talks to join Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. And speaking of Oppenheimer, some of the biggest things that I saw, I can't believe what the cast of Nolan's next movie is going to be is very interesting. We know that Cillian Murphy will be the lead of the film. Emily Blunt's in talks, and they officially casted 2 big actors. 2 huge actors will be in Nolan's next film, Oppenheimer. That's Robert Downey Jr., probably the biggest of all, and then Matt Damon. I mean, wow. I hope Matt Damon has a bigger role, too, because he kind of had that little role in Interstellar, and I'm sure it was only a matter of time before Nolan called him up again for something. I can't wait to see what this is. Another one. He's taking another direction, he's going down the war drama path again. I think this is another war film. Oppenheimer is a true story, so yeah, that should be really good. But when isn't Nolan's films? When aren't Nolan's? Am I just like fucking just tonight with the slurring? I'm not drunk, I swear. I'm not high either. I was high a few episodes back, but no, I'm not. Many Saints of Newark. I posted this. Many Saints of Newark star Michael Gandolfini son of James Gandolfini, of course, has joined the Paramount Plus Godfather prequel making of story, The Offer. That's already got quite the cast. What I didn't know was that there's 2 different making of Godfather stories coming out. One, I think they're either both movies or one's a show, one's a movie. But the other one's got Oscar Isaac in it and Jake Gyllenhaal, and then this one's completely different. I don't know. It's honestly, I was confused as to why there's 2. But I guess it's point of view, like one's from someone else's perspective than the other, and they're kind of 2 different stories, but they're both like making of the Godfather films or stories, or whatever. And yeah, so Michael Gandolfini joined this one. Great title for this one too, The Offer. I love that. I'll keep us all posted on that as we learn more. Hayden Christensen is not done in Star Wars when he returns in Obi-Wan. So he will be in Obi-Wan. We knew that. He's going to be in the Obi-Wan series. But he's also coming back again in the Ahsoka series. So Hayden Christensen is just back now as Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. I think he's playing Darth Vader most of all. And then you got to imagine there will be flashbacks so he can play around with the character he played for years again. That was the biggest in Star Wars news, I think. I forget. As we go up the list, I don't remember. Ryan Gosling in talks to join Margot Robbie in the Barbie movie as Ken. I mean, of course, dude. Of course Ryan Gosling is Ken. Of course he is. If Margot Robbie is Barbie, then of course, dude. Who else? I guess it could have been anybody. I could see Zac Efron playing. Like, it could be, I don't know. I guess this is where Ryan Gosling, he's a busy guy lately. He's also his Wolfman movie, which had I don't know if it's Leigh or Lee. I think it's Lee Winnell or Winnall, who did The Invisible Man. He was supposed to also do the Wolfman. He dropped out. I don't know if it was because of scheduling conflicts with other things or whatnot, but they did hire a new director for Ryan Gosling's Wolfman, and it is Derek Cianfrance. I don't know him, but I'll get to know him, and we'll see how his Wolfman iteration. I've been waiting for another Wolfman, kind of like low-key. I'm a big fan of the Wolfman, and I'm one of the few people who really, really loved the Benicio del Toro remake with Anthony Hopkins back in 2010. I really liked that one, but I'm a big fan of the original from 1941. And so a new Wolfman movie with Ryan Gosling. Can't wait for that. James Michael Tyler died. The actor who played Gunther in Friends died. So that sucked to hear. Another actor died recently too. This was just the other day. It was William Lucking, who played Piney in Sons of Anarchy. Remember Opie's father, Piney? Great character, great actor, great guy, I guess. Also died. Rest in peace to both of them. And then Chris Pratt's going to voice Garfield in a new movie. Fine, whatever. Boring. Next Quiet Place movie loses its director. That's the spin-off, not the third one. See, people forget that they announced a spin-off and the third one's coming out. You know John Krasinski's doing the third one. He's got to finish out his trilogy. But there's a spin-off, too, and now they're looking for a new director to helm it. Not helmet. Helm it, you know? Have it, take it, hold it, work it. Or something like that. What am I saying? Yeah. A lot of news. A lot of interesting stuff, dude. Dune Part 2 greenlit by Legendary. Of course. As soon as we saw the movie and it said Dune, and then it said Part 1, they were already planning this to be multiple films. It might only be 2 movies, but I don't know, you know? I'm not really sure, because their books are expansive. They're vast, right? I wouldn't imagine it would only be 2, but I don't know. speaking of Dune, that is our main topic today, along with 2 other films, and we'll get into them now. As soon as we finish out here, there was a couple of other little things, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Netflix's live-action adaptation of that, did cast Daniel Day-Kim as Firelord Ozai. I only just recently started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm on season 1, and it's good, and I'm looking forward to the live action. And they have their first official casting. I just posted this today, but it was announced yesterday that Gael Garcia Bernal to star in Marvel's Halloween special for Disney Plus, Werewolf by Night. Another very interesting character and storyline in Marvel Comics that obscure, to be honest, but have it themed as a Halloween special on Disney Plus. That's perfect, dude. That's great. I can't wait. And they have their lead, so that's cool. And yeah, Gal Gadot is going to be in Snow White as the evil queen, and she said that the script for Wonder Woman 3 is underway. But other than that, that is our news from the past couple weeks. Big stuff, little stuff, and everything in between. We will get into our topics of this week's episode, and we'll start with Halloween Kills. It's the first one I watched of the 3, and well, Halloween's over. We might as well start there anyway. I don't know. It's not themed in any way. I don't know. It's just, let's start there and end with Dune, right? Dunes are, yeah, that's how I did it last time. Let's stop thinking out loud here. Let's just get into it. Yeah, so Halloween Kills, guys. Halloween Kills. But does Halloween kill it? Does Halloween kill? Is it did it kill? Was it fire? Did it win over the audiences who loved the 2018 film? I loved the 2018 film. I know people didn't love it. But I'm also a big fan of the Rob Zombie remakes, which people didn't love. But this one was interesting. Just the direction they went with it, just a lot of little things. I found it interesting that they would actually take a direct approach to something I've always talked about, right? The idea that Michael Myers transcends an ordinary man. I mentioned it in a previous episode where we talked about the Halloween film from 2018, where I've always said that Michael Myers does and can take on a supernatural approach, or there's a supernatural element to him. And this film kind of just takes a direct approach to that. It always alluded to the idea that Michael Myers had a supernatural element to him, but it never just because he always would find a way to live. You couldn't kill him easily. He would resurrect. It was always his presence. There was something non-human about him always, and it was always alluded to, but never a direct approach like in this. Their whole final stance on the character in this movie is that he is more than a man. They made it a key part of this storyline. Whatever they are doing here, one thing's for sure, this trilogy is meant to add intense scale to the entity of Michael Myers so that we can get a kind of big stakes franchise ending third film when it comes out next year with Halloween Ends. That's what they set up here in this middle chapter. I respected the approach because Gordon Green and McBride decided to take the perspective of Haddonfield in this one, right? The people. It's an effective take on Halloween. You don't really get that a lot, which brings meaning to the title, too. I liked that parallel. It brought purpose to the characters, even characters we've known for 40 years. Characters from the original film show up here, again, kind of following suit with what they did with Laurie Strode. Other characters from that gruesome night 40 years ago show up here and act as an embodiment of Haddonfield and the people of Haddonfield, right? We have Tommy is the big one, obviously. But, yeah, the whole idea that Halloween Kills and what that means. So the title Halloween Kills is alluding to the fact that the power that Michael Myers gets every time he kills somebody, and how he becomes stronger every time he kills somebody, how the fear is what gives him his power. The fear that he instills into the town of Haddonfield and into the people, that is what makes him invincible. Because every time he kills somebody, he just adds to that fear and adds to the power he has over these people. And then, of course, that final climactic battle with townspeople, it's like as if it's a legit power he has, and he's able to just keep on going. Keep on fucking living and killing. You can't kill him. It truly, for the first time, made him an unstoppable force of evil like we've never seen before. So I respected that approach. But also what fear and the fear Michael instills does to the people is important, and it's like a big part of this. It's like the way that fear consumes the people, it turns them into monsters too. It changes the people. So Michael's influence is so vast, it consumes the whole town. It consumes everybody. And until it's just basically chaos, right? My one big problem with this one, it was the lack of character development for Laurie, or screen time or presence in this particular chapter in the story. She's almost non-existent. She's barely in it. Which, they decide to spend time expanding on other characters. I guess it's fine. I just particularly didn't care for it as much. I didn't care for the whole cross-cutting sequence at the hospital. You got Michael Myers at the house, at his house, with the gay guys, and then there's the whole inmate escape sequence at the hospital, and we're like cross-cutting very oddly, like as if we're supposed to be like, where is Michael? Is he there or here? And it's like, dude, you're showing these close-up shots of this guy running. Like, that's not Michael Myers. We know it's not Michael Myers. So I didn't care for the cross-cutting they were doing, like as if we're supposed to wonder where Michael is. Michael always goes home. So it was very obvious where he was. Not to mention there's a bunch of people at the hospital and 2 people at the house. Where's Michael going? He goes home. And and him killing 2 gay guys does not make Michael Myers homophobic. That whole fucking thing. That was so stupid. Oh my god. That is, whoever said that was, you're so stupid. Oh my god. Like another level of stupidity to say that, dude. Oh man. People too fucking sensitive to the point where we're getting like so bent out of shape over a fictional fucking killer. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I'm not even gonna get into that. But I also understood the hospital sequence because it was the full-on embodiment of what Michael does to the people. They cause a death in that sequence. By the end of that sequence, the chaos causes a death, and therefore it's kind of like Michael's in 2 places at once, right? He still, by extension, causes that death, and he's killing. He's just everywhere. And so I understood why the hospital sequence was important. I just didn't care for this strange cross-cutting thing they were doing, like as if we're supposed to be fooled or something. By the third act, I wasn't as invested, but I liked the ending. That whole big battle kind of thing they did there. The deaths were definitely more gruesome in this one. They wanted to hype up the gore for this chapter. I guess the one titled Kills, they definitely wanted to be more gory. And at the end of the day, I didn't hate the film. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I don't know how I've been doing it lately, if I've been doing the ratings at the end of all three, but I kind of like just doing it at the end of each one. My rating, if I'm going to give a personal rating for Halloween Kills, it's a 7.3 out of 10. It was an okay entry in this franchise. I think if you can handle horror and gore, definitely it's a must watch. But it was okay. It was an okay movie. And now I'm going to talk about The Last Duel, which is Ridley Scott's latest, and in my opinion, probably one of his better films in a while. I mean, the last really great Ridley Scott movie was probably The Martian, with Matt Damon. But let me just say right off the bat with The Last Duel, there's a lot of things I had to adjust to. First of all, the cast is great, but there's a lot of laughable moments because I had to get used to the idea that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are going to be playing Englishmen, right? That kind of, you have to get used to it. But once you accept these roles and believe the humanization of these characters, you become invested. Also, the structure of the film kind of saved the movie. It drags sometimes, especially that first chapter. You're like, where are they really going with this? And then you realize what they're going to do, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm still here. I'm going to stick with this. But that first act is expositional in a lot of ways. It just kind of, you're like not sure where they're going with it. If you can stick with it, though, past the first chapter, it becomes very intriguing because you want to see what happens. You want to know, because you now want to know as much as anybody in the film what the truth is. I mean, this whole idea of the last duel, it's less about a duel. It ends up, the story is less about the duel itself, and it's more about what what really happened. We don't care about the outcome of this duel. We care about what actually happened. So that was I almost wonder if that makes it flawed in some way, that we get to the end and we don't so much care which man in this kills each other, because they both suck. That's the thing. No, we are rooting for one of the men in the film because it saves our main character, the person we come to most care about, and who becomes the protagonist of the film is Margaret, played by Jodie Comer. So yeah, in a way, we do need that duel. We need to see what happens. We do care in some regard, but in regards to who kills who, I remember finally getting to the duel and being like, I just want them to kill each other, honestly. I hope they both die. But, truth. Yeah, truth. Truth is the big main theme of this film. And how truth is expressed, how it's manipulated, how it's utilized for the characters and for the story. Granted, I knew what they were doing right after they went into the second chapter. With the structure, it's basically another ripoff of the classic Kurosawa film, Rashomon, right? 3 perspectives on one event and how only one is the truth. How truth itself is ambiguous, and how that ambiguity is dangerous, right? This is something we see today. It actually, the film manages to be relevant for our times now, while being a period piece in the 14th century. So, hats off to that. I will say it's unique in that we see POVs played with to the extreme. Much less about one event, although there is a key plot point we are building to each time, but it's more, I found it interesting more, every bit of this, all the events that play out, and how they're kind of all a little bit different. Every time we see something again, it's a little bit different. And I think that was intentional, and it worked really well, honestly. I can imagine that throughout the filmmaking process for this film, it became fun for the actors to work a scene, and for Ridley Scott to be aware of the fact that he can use multiple takes and not have to settle on one. Does that make sense? Because he's got 3 perspectives he shows. So I can imagine going through with the actors let's try that one. Let's play that one this way. This one is from his perspective, so let's have it play more this way, and just kind of like being able to really pick and choose which takes were gonna work best for like each perspective, and you can see it. I loved when I could see it. Each time we see an event again, it's like kind of whichever character is the protagonist of that said chapter, and how each person saw things was obviously slightly different. So that was cool. I caught moments where the scenes played out differently, where the actors performed differently, and instead of needing to worry about like continuity as much, it works as a plot device due to the nature of the story, which was cool. While each chapter is probably too long, we still wait, we wonder, and we seek to know the only perspective that we care about. The only one that's actually important. So Marguerite, played by Jodie Comer, she was fantastic. She was everybody was really good, but she was the scene stealer. She was the best. She's the true protagonist of the movie too, in my opinion. And the only truth we care about. Especially as we learn more and more how terrible the male characters in it. Like, literally, as you go, you just literally realize, oh, they both suck. Matt Damon and Adam Driver's characters, they both just suck. They, like, for a while, you're kind of... That first chapter is very, like, tricky. Like, they trick you, because it's from Matt Damon's character's perspective. So you're like, okay, we root for Matt Damon and his wife. And Adam Driver's character sucks. But as you go, it's actually that they both suck, dude. They're both terrible. And that just, I mean, great job by the actors pulling that off really well. It actually ends up being one of the better Ridley Scott films I've seen in a while, that is for sure. Even though there is a pacing problem sometimes, even a relatability problem, when we spend minutes upon minutes with characters we grow to dislike, like when we're just spending time with Adam Driver's character, like he sucks, dude. But you're mesmerized too, because they're terrible people, but the performances are really good. What's actually unfolding before us is interesting enough to stay tuned. Was it a great movie? No, but it still ended up being like actually pretty freaking good all around. My rating for The Last Duel is probably like an 8.3 out of 10. You know, it was a good movie. It was a good movie. I find myself thinking about it sometimes. I remember watching it and I couldn't watch some of the moments, some of the scenes. It was hard to watch. It got my stomach, it twisted my stomach. It made me upset to watch some of that movie, but that just adds to the whole tone of it and what the story ended up being. It was a good movie. So yeah. And finally, last but definitely not least, because it was such an experience, we will talk about Dune. Dune Part 1, as it is now referred to. Let me just say right off the bat that I found myself kind of overloaded right off the bat. Like, I didn't read the books, right? I didn't read any of the books. So the world building was something I knew I was hoping I would be able to keep up with. And Denis did a fantastic job at keeping me enthralled. I mean, every bit of the story information was clear, was on point, and I understood the lore, like, quickly. And became just, like I said, enthralled in the characters, in the story. There's a lot of obvious parallels to Star Wars, but I didn't realize that I think the books came out before Star Wars even came out. So, honestly, Star Wars took from this, not the other way around. But, yeah, when you see those things, it's tough for people who don't read the books, or didn't read the books, and they've obviously seen Star Wars, and it's like, oh, well, this is, like, very similar to that. Like, this idea of a chosen one character, or the force being like the voice being like the force, those kind of little things. But the movies and the story worlds and the universe are totally different, so it doesn't really even fucking matter in the end. I just thought I'd point out the obvious there, and you can really, what the fuck is that noise? Can you hear that? Anyway, God, that's annoying. Keep it going, even with that going on in my ears. There's something, obviously. So if we're gonna talk about parallels between Star Wars and Dune, let's move on and just say Dune feels more grounded, more relatable. Thank you. More relevant even to the real world, to our reality. The themes were powerful and effective. So this idea of imperialism is something it's nothing new to big scale sci-fi epics, right? But they played with it a little bit differently. They made it relevant to our society in new ways that I think helped just aid the storyline even more. Denis and company, they try to focus on the elements of Dune that are going to feel both familiar and captivating. So like Paul and House Atreides, or Atreides, right? Yeah, Atreides, which is way cooler. Never say Atreides again, because that's wrong and it sounds terrible. Atreides. House Atreides, except, dude, really good. Powerful moments in this movie. But yeah, Paul and House Atreides act as nothing more than an obvious embodiment of hope and righteousness throughout, with this kind of coming-of-age tale stuck right at the center of it. What more do you really like? That alone captivates you, and you're along for the ride. Paul learning what kind of man he's going to be and what destiny and responsibility mean for him. Paul's arc is consistent and deep, and Timothée Chalamet is fantastic at expressing every beat of the character's growth and being as the story progresses. We actually see legitimate change for his character from the start to the end that is super powerful. And then I liked, I agree with some of my other friends too, like the, Zendaya she was barely in the movie, but I think it's fine. I mean, the second part, it's clear that she will be a presence. Other than that, I don't know. I guess Dune is still the one I find myself thinking about most, because it was the most. I had the most fun watching that of obviously these three films, but I don't know what else to say about it other than it's an experience, like, all around. It was like a masterful film experience. Like, visually, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. The cast is immense and mesmerizing. It's the people in this movie, and the score too. The score is one of my that's one of my new favorites. That's a tire backing up. Okay. The score was fucking really engaging and one of my new favorites. I added it to my playlist, like my scores playlist right away. It's very, very good. But yeah, I don't know what else I have really. I guess I didn't have as much to say about Dune because it's almost obvious, and I haven't really been thinking about it as I guess. I don't know what else I've picked up from that experience, because I probably need to see it again. But yeah, I don't know. It was great, dude. It was a great film. It was a great experience. I don't know. I don't know what else. I'll leave it at that. I mean, I loved it. I loved the movie. I can't wait for part 2. It comes out in 2023. Trying to think. I mean, I know I'm sitting here. I'm trying to think of something else I could say about it, but it'll come to me later. Maybe, I don't know. It was great. I give it a 9.1 out of 10 because it was great. It was great. So that's that. We will move on. We will wrap up let's get this episode finished. We'll move into our segments now on our next episode of Behind the Camera. I figured I'll keep it all in the realm of sci-fi, right? This week we talked about all kinds of sci-fi. We got Dune. That's the next big sci-fi epic, and I think I'll keep it within the theme of cultural phenomenons and whatnot, right? So, for instance, the Abrams era of Star Trek is going to be our Behind the Camera this week. The 2009 reboot of Star Trek was a big deal for fans. Like with Star Wars, there were a lot of expectations, and just like with Star Wars, no one cared for or had faith in J.J. Abrams. But what I find most interesting about Abrams helming the film is that he actually didn't love the characters of Kirk and Spock at the time of this project. He wasn't a fan of the latest film Nemesis that came out before, and that bothered fans. Not to mention, Abrams had no intention of actually directing the film, but Paramount pushed for him to do it. They thought that his eyes were a necessity for this project. How about the fact that Abrams and the team were so adamant about Leonard Nimoy, again, I butcher names, being in the film, that they considered delaying or scrapping the movie entirely if he declined to do it. Leonard Nimoy is the original Spock, and he was a must cast. He was essential to their film, and boy was he. And it caught Nimoy completely by surprise, saying in an interview that this was the first time I ever had a filmmaker say to me, "We cannot make this film without you, and we won't make this film without you." Speaking of which, it's not like they just had plans for the original Spock. There were some initial plans for Kirk as well. William Shatner did have a potential cameo spot if he wanted it, but insisted on having a bigger role like Nimoy. So therefore, Shatner's Kirk was completely scrapped from the film. Also, it was cool to learn that an idea for a prequel had been around since 1968. But for years, nothing came to fruition. There had been comics and novels, but never an actual prequel on the big screen until writers Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman got hold of this one in 2005. And finally, did you know that Matt Damon was one of the actors considered for the role of Kirk? And he wasn't the only one. The list of actors for all the roles in this movie was quite long. Matt Damon, however, very clearly did not want any part of the film, as he called J.J. Abrams and politely insisted that he was not going to be considered for the role of Kirk. Regardless of where you put the new trilogy, there is no denying just how successful these films really were. They will always be high on my list for must-watch sci-fi epics.
I don't need a doctor, damn it, I am a doctor.
You need to get back to your seat.
I had one in the bathroom with no windows. I suffer from aviophobia. It means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit down.
Fine.
Thank you.
This is Captain Pike. We can clear for takeoff.
I may throw up on you.
So we will move on to our next topic, and it will be posted later this week. So stay tuned and check it out. Go check out the Instagram and see what you think. But I'm gonna do a cool one. The Last Duel planted this in my mind. So, which of the two is the better film? So let's do Gladiator versus Braveheart. Which one is better? Which one's your favorite and why? And for me, I don't even know how I pick. I feel like I gotta pick. People are gonna hate me. I gotta pick Gladiator. I don't know why. Gladiator for me was like, I grew up on that movie. Like, I saw it when I was really young when it came out. I was like 5 years, and I kept seeing it throughout the years. It was just like, I think it had more of an influence on me than Braveheart. I love Braveheart, and Braveheart's probably has the better storyline. But, yeah, I don't know. It's very hard. That's a hard versus, and I'm glad I picked it, and we're going to do it this week. This is our versus this week. So, yeah, I'll post it later this week, and let me know what you would pick. And I do have some recommendations this week. I finally get to do this one. I haven't done it yet, and it's about time that I do. Sci-fi epics. There is one sci-fi epic that needs to be adapted into films, but more specifically, it needs to be a television show. That is the Dark Tower series. Stephen King's 7-book Dark Tower series needs to exist on the screen at some point in the near future. If I have to do it, I will. But I always feel like this stuff ends up coming out before I even get a chance to start working on it. Case in point, Assassin's Creed. But yeah, it's a must read. And I am recommending highly that everybody go and read this series if you haven't yet. A friend of mine recommended it to me years ago in college, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite. I can't wait till I get a chance to, or I get time, which is limited, to reread it one day. But it's a great book series, and it is a must read. I'll even maybe do a fan cast too that I'll post, because it's interesting to think of. I'm actually curious who other people saw when they read this series, because for me it was so like obscure kind of. I'll do the fan cast right now actually, and I'll post it later. But it's weird to think that I had Josh Holloway from Lost and more recently Yellowstone and whatnot. Like Josh Holloway was who I saw as Roland, as the gunslinger. I mean, I don't know why, but it's just he was older. He was like I just saw a version of Josh Holloway as that character throughout the reading. Jake, it's funny, with Jake, I just kind of saw the same kid they cast in that shitty movie, because right when I started reading the books, that shitty movie was coming out. So I just saw Jake as the same kid. But my other castings I really love. I saw Tessa Thompson as Susanna, and I saw apologies, I'm blanking on the actor's name, but it's the actor who plays the junkie son in the Fear the Walking Dead series. He also plays a young Voldemort in Harry Potter. I know, look at where I pull from. But that actor is who I saw as Eddie the whole time I was reading it. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird who you see when you read, but I like to cast when I read. Like, it's great when I read the Star Wars books, and I love having Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford, and Billy D. Williams. Like, I love having those actors, literally, like, and then I love casting the other characters in my head. Like, it's fun. It's part of the fun of reading. But yeah, definitely my recommendation is you all go and check out that series. I was going to do the next episode of the draft this week, but I don't know that I didn't really prepare one this week. I was going to do our final outlining part 3. But I kind of finished talking about my outlining. The only other thing I do is I do use a board. I use a board and put the cards up, the index cards up on a board, because it's another view of it. It's like having the movie like in a certain view, like all just laid out there. But from there, it's honestly just pulling them off one at a time and writing each scene, and that's what we'll get to next week in the next episode of the draft when we talk about part 1. Writing part 1 will be next week. So stay tuned for that. Not next week, next episode, because it's not every week now, right? But yeah, definitely next time for sure. That's it. That was a good one. I was in podcast mode this time, so I was feeling it, and it was just, there was a flow. So yes. As always, I got to shout out to the patrons: Billy Thomas, Jessica Murphy, Mike Morganti, Linda Morganti, Jack Morganti, Dylan Morganti. My family mostly. And thank you for always supporting me no matter what and what I do. But yeah. yeah, that's it. You know where to find me now? It's at Benji Morganti, one word. If you want to follow me personally on Instagram, that's where it is. That's where you go. Follow the show at Screen Preach, obviously. I'm always keeping up with things on there. Because it's fun to do, for the most part. Check out my website at benmorgantistory.com for my scripts and other projects and whatnot. And share that link around, too, you know? Get some eyes on it. Why not? You definitely want to subscribe to BMS Studios on YouTube because that's where these episodes are. That's where other segments are. And if you want to get a shout out on the show, then you got to become a patron at patreon.com/preacher. And as always, we got to have our usual siren. We got to get one of them. We always got to get one of them, right? I didn't get one last time, though, did I? Let's get one now here and have her come through, and we'll finish this off. I don't know. I don't think I forgot anything, right? That's it. Look at that. We got under an hour for once. Whoa. That never happens. Never happens. I am not finishing with the siren, so let's let it go. And there's nothing to see. I gather over there. Thank you for watching or listening, however you do it. And stay tuned for more episodes of Screen Preach. Thank you for watching. Thank you again. Have a cinematic week. Goodbye. Okay? Goodbye. Get the fuck out of here. Goodbye. Everybody, go. I'm gone. That's it. We're done. Let's go.